Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andy, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. We have a lot of people here with us today with a lot that's going on. So a number of very exciting announcements. We're going to first talk about our booming economy. Then we've got some folks in from the Derby Festival, and we'll be unveiling some really special, meaningful posters. We've got a number of our veterans here with us today, and we're going to talk about how our Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs has won more awards for their service to our veterans. Then we're going to talk about legislation, and we've got a national champion from the University of Kentucky Wildcats in who pushed a bill during this session. We're going to do a signing for it. Then we're going to talk about weather, which it seems like we have to do every single week, and a few other updates. If you hear a little noise in the background, it's just because we've got so many Kentuckians that are a part of this week's update. So pretty exciting. So let's start where we always start, with our booming record-setting economy. Just yesterday, our state budget director, John Hicks, and his team at the Office of the State Budget Director reported on our latest general fund and road fund receipts. And the news continues to be record-shattering. Our general fund receipts for March grew nearly 13% over last year, while our road fund receipts grew by more than 13.5% over the same period. General fund receipts for March hit nearly $1.2 billion. That is an incredible all on its own. But when you take into account, it is now the 19th consecutive month with general fund receipts over $1 billion. That is a record that grows every single month. To give you an idea about how good these latest numbers are, we have grown 3.9% over the first 9 months of the fiscal year 2024. Since the beginning of my administration, now well over 1,000 new location and expansion projects, a record $30.5 billion of new private sector investment in Kentucky in us, and created more than 52,500 new jobs. We've had the best year for exports, the best year for tourism, the best year for bourbon. It's pretty exciting time, and we need to recognize it and celebrate it while it's occurring, because it means more opportunity for future generations. And that's what a lot of these veterans sacrificed for, a better life for our families. In this week's news, on Tuesday, we highlighted an expansion in Morgantown for Gracious Living Kentucky, a manufacturer and distributor of consumer products, including patio furniture, storage containers, laundry baskets, shelving, and recreational products. They invested over $9.8 million. They're creating 50 new full-time jobs. The company initially located its headquarters in Morgantown in 2023 and are already expanding. The expansion should be completed by the end of 2025. Manufacturing has long been essential to our economy, and this continued investment by Gracious Living shows what a great place we are to manufacture goods, as they are already expanding. Another Kentucky company expanding after 75 years of operation is Manchester Lumber Company, that recently celebrated the groundbreaking of their new location. I want to offer my congratulations to the owner, Donna Jackson, and her entire team at Manchester Lumber on this great announcement. I wish them all the luck in the world. And later today at 2:30, I'll be in Winchester to celebrate the start of construction at Washington Penn Plastic Company. That is a $105 million investment in Clark County that's going to create 88 good-paying jobs. It is an exciting time to be a Kentuckian. It's an exciting time to be a business doing business in Kentucky. And we are thrilled for Washington Penn's investment and all of the continued momentum we have, where we are at the top of so many lists that we used to not be on at all. This is our chance to build that better world and better Commonwealth for our kids and offer them endless possibilities. It's really exciting. All right, now we are fast approaching one of the most important times on the calendar here in the Commonwealth, the Kentucky Derby. This year, we celebrate the 150th running of the Derby, a signature event in sports, culture, and for our economy. Every springtime, the world turns their attention to Churchill Downs for the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. And every year, the people of Kentucky extend their hospitality, and we show everybody how we do it best. In Kentucky, we know Derby is so much more than a 2-minute race. It's a season of exciting events where we make memories with our families and welcome hundreds of thousands of tourists in to spend their dollars in our communities. Throughout history, our thriving horse racing industry has been a source of inspiration for artists. Whether it's the dedication of the jockeys, the power of the thoroughbreds, or the grandness of the crowds, these elements have given birth to artistic masterpieces that we as Kentuckians take great pride in. Today, I'm honored and proud to take part in a time-honored tradition of presenting a Governor's Celebration Derby poster. And I'm glad the First Lady and Lieutenant Governor could join us today for it. If you all would join me, and Winnie's here too. So first, we're announcing the artist for this year's Governor's Celebration Derby poster is Ken Burney. Ken, are you here with us? Yeah, come on up. Come on in. Ken is a contemporary painter in the Artist Village in Lexington. I hope you don't mind dogs.
That's fine.
Throughout his illustrious career, he's taken on various creative roles, including graphic designer, muralist, tattoo artist, if anybody's interested, illustrator, and educator. The work he has created for the Celebration Derby posters pays homage to some of the Kentucky Derby's most famous black jockeys who made significant and historic contributions to the sport, especially in the early days of the Derby. Despite facing obstacles and discrimination, black jockeys have been an integral part of the Kentucky Derby since its inception, including the very first Kentucky Derby, where the horse that came in first, second, and third were all ridden by black jockeys. Ken's artwork depicts Oliver Lewis riding Aristides in 1875, Isaac Murphy riding Buchanan in 1884, and Isaac Lewis riding Montrose in 1887. With that, we have Ken, and along with Kentucky Derby Festival President and CEO Matt Gibson, if Matt, you can join us, and to come on up here, and we will unveil this first masterpiece of a poster. We're about to find out.
Yeah.
Ken, you want to mention anything about it?
Sure.
You're welcome to.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. How's everyone doing today? Okay. Well, I want to thank Governor Beshear and the First Lady for this amazing opportunity. I also would like to thank Secretary Beshear for his tremendous support in the process of completing this painting. It was a lot of phone calls back and forth. And there was a reoccurring theme as this project developed, and everyone involved wanted to get it right because there's not a lot of readily available information. Excuse me. I reached out. Excuse me. I reached out to experts for help. I'm fortunate to know local historian Yvonne Giles, who is a wealth of knowledge about African-American history in Kentucky. And speaking to former Kentucky poet laureate Frank X. Walker, who wrote a play about Isaac Murphy, he allowed me into his library to borrow a few books, and that doesn't happen often for people. And so if Frank gets to see this and listen to this, I will return the book soon. And also the Keeneland Library, excuse me, the Keeneland Library was a lot of help in getting the jockey silk colors right. And I chose this composition to focus on winners. That's the title of the painting. And of course, we spoke about who the jockeys are. There's Isaac Murphy in the center. He won the first Derby. There's Oliver Lewis on the left. And Oliver Lewis won the first Derby. I'm sorry. Yeah, get it right. And Isaac Murphy, who won the most derbies, he's in the center. And on the right, we have Isaac Lewis. He won the 13th Derby, and he's one of the youngest winners. It is my hope that this painting will inspire people to learn more about the black jockeys and share their stories for future generations. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Beginning in 1956, as a single event, the Kentucky Derby Festival has expanded into a 2-week celebration of all things Kentucky Derby. Some of the fantastic events include Thunder over Louisville, the Great Balloon Race, the Great Steamboat Race, and the Pegasus Parade. A major part of the economic success for the Run for the Roses can be attributed to the state's tourism industry, including the extraordinary work of the Kentucky Derby Festival. Today, we're honored to have Matt Gibson, his team at the festival, as well as the 2024 Kentucky Derby Royal Court. If y'all would join us up here. The Kentucky Derby Festival also highlights the arts with a yearly poster. So as the court comes up, and if any of the members, I mean, these are great people in questionable jackets, would like to come join us up here, you're welcome to. And Matt, if you feel free to brag on the festival as well as introduce your poster.
One of my favorite things to brag on the festival. Thank you, Governor. Thank you all for being here today.
Yes, ma'am.
What a glorious time of year. As the governor said, it's not only about what's happening in this community. There's always a lot of weather in the springtime, but thanks for having us here today. There's always a lot of excitement and energy this time of year in the Commonwealth, and especially this year as we as an entire state mark a historic milestone and look forward to the celebrating of the 150th Derby. For nearly 70 years, the Kentucky Derby Festival has been bringing a community together in celebration leading up to that first Saturday in May. We entertain more than 1.5 million folks each year with a packed schedule of over 70 events. As the governor said, we started with just one event, and 70 years later, we're well over 70. We're proud to be one of the leading community celebrations in the world and an economic driver for the entire state of Kentucky, along with all of our partners for that month-long celebration. In just 8 days, believe it or not, the opening ceremonies of the Derby Festival will light up the Ohio River, the Louisville skyline with Thunder over Louisville. If you've not seen it, it is something to behold. It's one of the nation's top air shows and fireworks displays. This truly is our favorite time of year. One of the first signs of spring isn't necessarily the flowers. It's not the trees. For us, it's the unveiling of the official Derby Festival poster. It's become an iconic symbol that commemorates the Derby Festival season and means that it's in full swing. We've hit a home run with this year's poster artist. The 2024 design was created by a Louisville artist who is a former professional baseball player, and I'm happy to report too, he was the governor's artist last year. So maybe we should talk about the future. So this year's piece is called Liberated. As you'll see in just a moment, Richard said his inspiration for this watercolor artwork was the fact that there's so much celebration and so much to celebrate during the Derby season that it feels just like the city is flying. Now, I'd like to ask Richard Sullivan, the poster artist, and Aaron Razinen, our 2024 Derby Festival chair, to help us unveil this year's poster. We do know which one this one is. As you see, with celebrating over 70 events, sometimes it's hard to capture what we do celebrate, but one of the most iconic images that we have is not only the Pegasus, as you see on the jackets, the governor has one as well, but is also the balloon. Somewhere. You might be able to find it. It does stand out in a closet. But as you'll see, one of the most iconic images is always the ballooning. When you look up in this state, so many of them have been are with us for years. So great job, Richard, in creating this year's image. So, Governor, we have one more iconic symbol of the Derby Festival that we want to leave you and the First Lady and the Lieutenant Governor. One of our favorite ways of sharing the Derby Festival each year is with Pegasus pins. It's one of the largest fundraisers for the organization, and a pin will get you into almost everything that the Derby Festival does. It's not like a movie ticket where you use it one time. One pin gets you into a number of events. So the Derby Festival collaborated with Churchill Downs, again, on this wonderful 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. And it is our pleasure to present you all with the metal version of the gold Pegasus pin. And this year's theme is Pin the Town Derby.
Thank you very much.
So we ask that you wear it with pride. As you'll see, many people in the room are wearing it, not just those in the pink coats, and we'd love to and be honored if you all did as well. So thank you for having us here today, Governor. Thank you so much.
It's good to see you, Richard.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. You might be the first to do both.
Back to back, I agree.
Yes. And I tell you what, as we bid goodbye to the festival, would you all like to introduce yourself to the state on the way out? Come on.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Peyton Brooks. I'm a senior at the University of Louisville, double majoring in political science and criminal justice, and it's nice to meet you all.
All right, future governor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laurel Riggs. I'm originally from Bardstown, Kentucky. I attend the University of Kentucky in Lexington, and I am double majoring in political science and writing rhetoric and digital studies, and I'll be attending law school at UK Law in the fall.
Another future governor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Downs. I'm from Springfield, Kentucky, but I graduated from Bellarmine in 2022 with a degree in biology, and now I'm a second-year medical student at U of L. So glad to be here.
Hello, my name is Emma Rhodes. I'm a second-year master's student at Bellarmine University. I also went to Bellarmine for all 4 years of my undergrad. Go Knights! I'm a master's student studying education, and I'm a full-time third-grade teacher in Louisville, where's where I'm from. So, yeah. Hi, kids. All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ankita Nair, and I graduated from UCLA, and I'm currently a third-year medical student here at the University of Louisville. I'd love to be a future surgeon one day, but we'll see what happens with the match. And before Derby season, I was previously the Miss University of Louisville.
Oh.
It's nice to meet you all.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So, we appreciate you. All right. We're going to go just a little bit out of order because we know we've got a senator who has an appointment coming up. So as you know, the period for vetoes and signing bills has ended. I'm going to go over that as a summary in a minute. But today we wanted to highlight a specific bill because here with us today, we have a very special advocate for Senate Bill 111. Senate Bill 111 requires insurance to cover the cost of speech therapy as a treatment for stuttering. About 3 million Americans have a stutter, and this can often hold them back from public speaking or certain opportunities. Speech therapy can make a world of difference, and now everyone is going to be able to have that coverage. So here with us today, we had the sponsor of the bill, Senator Whitney Westerfield, along with former University of Kentucky basketball star, NBA player, national champion, Michael Kidd Gilchrist. He used the power of his own story, which takes a real vulnerability to stand up for others and to ultimately ensure that they can get all the services they need. So, Senator Michael, please come on up. And family.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate it. Sure. I want to give Michael the opportunity to speak. It's his story, and he's the reason this bill is here. I'm honored to have been the sponsor of Senate Bill 111, and I'm glad that Kentucky gets to be the first of the states in the country where Michael's going to bring this important work and this important change. Governor, thank you for the signature on the bill. I appreciate that. And Michael, thank you for your advocacy. As the governor just said, using your story and your platform to do good for others is what society calls all of us to do. And you've got a rare opportunity to do it. And you've met with success this year here in Kentucky, and I look forward to 49 other examples of success. So thank you so much. Thank you, Governor.
You're welcome. Come on in where they can see you.
I want to thank you guys. I've been honored and obviously, and obviously blessed. So I want to thank the governor. I want to thank the senator. And my family as well. Back in 2010, I made a commitment to UK, but also the state, and I'm fortunate enough to help the state and also adults like myself who stutter in the future, and that's kids, I weathered the storm, of being picked on, teased and such like that, so I might just want to thank you guys, just being heard at this magnitude, I'm not I'm not just a national champion here anymore, you know. It's like I'm a person who made a real impact in the state.
Yeah.
So
Right on.
I want to thank you guys, man, for the opportunity, you know. So,
You ready to sign it?
Yeah, I'm ready
All
to
right.
sign, man, for sure.
Right down here. Come on down here. Come on in. So we'll sign 2 of these. So that one goes home. This is, I'll say that. Thank you. And this is on the cover page. First, we're all looking ahead. Congratulations. I'll do it again. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you. I'll tell you what, that's for him. Be careful with that. Anything you write comes along.
Could have used this a couple of months ago.
I understand. If it only worked that way. All right. Thank you all very much. All right. Today we have some very good news to share from our Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs. The department has received another prestigious award for one of its innovative programs. KDVA has received an Abraham Lincoln Pillar of Excellence Award for the 4th year in a row. This time, they earned it for their Red Carpet program. The program was started at the Carl M. Beshear Radcliffe Veteran Center, where Veteran Center staff give a warm welcome to new veteran residents and ensure the veteran has a seamless transition to his or her new home. There is a lot to celebrate. The Kentucky Veteran Cemetery Southeast, located in Hyden, is receiving the National Cemetery Administration Stewardship Award in recognition for superior results. The National Cemetery Administration recognizes veteran cemeteries that meet certain high priority standards. We're proud to say the Kentucky Veteran Cemetery Southeast is one of the few state veteran cemeteries in the country that have received this award and recognition. And on Monday, April 15th, there will be an award ceremony to celebrate this achievement. So once again, congratulations to everyone at Veterans Affairs for their work. We are also celebrating the Carl M. Beshear Radcliffe Veteran Center 2023 Best of Kentucky Nursing and Rehabilitation Award. This award was from November, when the Radcliffe Veteran Center was honored by the Kentucky Association of Healthcare Facilities, Kentucky Center for Assisted Living, during their annual Quality Awards banquet. The award is given to the top long-term care facilities in Kentucky. And on top of all that, 3 of our veteran centers were recognized in February as 2024 America's Best Nursing Homes by U.S. News and World Report. That is a lot of awards, but no fewer than our veterans deserve. Today, we have Commissioner Whitney Allen, along with several members of his staff. Come on up, whoever you'd like to join. And I wanted to take a moment to congratulate them on these incredible awards. Come on in, guys. We can all step down. Yeah? Yes. Grateful. Yes.
And Governor Rhodes, Governor Willoughby, and the middle.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to see that today.
All right. Hey, oh, it's nice to see you. Come on in. Stand right here if you'll join me. Yes. All right. Yes. Congratulations.
Yes, this is our Best of Kentucky Award.
Here is Carl M. Beshear, and I'll show it up there in a second. And this is yet another Abraham Lincoln Pillar of Excellence Award. Okay. And these are all awarded for the service that this crew is providing to you all, which is no less than you deserve. So we're really grateful, and we will continue to try to find ways to be better and better and better and better. Because you deserve it.
Good job already.
Well, thank you.
I guarantee it.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sit down.
No, just stand right there. Just look up, Bill.
Everybody smile.
All right.
Good, good.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you for your service.
There you go, sit down.
All right. Absolutely. Very welcome. Finally, we have an update on our Veterans Program Trust Fund, which provides funding to support veterans programs and initiatives across the state. The trust fund is overseen by a board of directors that I've appointed and receives its funds through the Veterans License Plate purchases and renewals. Following March's trust fund meeting, the board approved and awarded more than $392,000. This is the most ever from a single meeting or session of the Veterans Programs Trust Fund. Thank you all. They include $105,000 to Honor Flight Bluegrass. The Clark County Veterans Council was awarded $100,000. Honor Flight Kentucky was awarded $75,000. Lady Veterans Connect was awarded $14,700. Louisville Armed Forces Committee was awarded $5,000. The Rowan County Veterans Foundation received an award. The Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame was awarded $30,000. Operation Odyssey Outdoors, $10,000. And the Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs Homeless Veterans Program was awarded $50,000. Over the past 4 years, we've now seen $2.9 million in awards to support our veterans in various ways. The next trust fund meeting is June 12th. We're excited about their continued good work. I'm going to now turn it over to our Lieutenant Governor for some updates, and then I will come back up and give the legislative breakdown, and we'll take questions.
Thank you, Governor. So we have seen some great success from sports wagering, which opened last September. And for the first time, Kentuckians were able to place legal wagers for the NCAA tournament games. Preliminary numbers indicate that over 2.5 million individual bets were placed in Kentucky on the NCAA men's basketball tournament, with a total handle of more than $57.7 million, retail and mobile included. The total handle includes all money wagered in the state. Tax numbers are calculated from the adjusted gross revenue after wagers are settled, including winnings returned to the bettors. In just 7 months, sports wagering tax revenue is already beating predictions, and it continues to be an entertainment source Kentuckians enjoy. Tax revenues from sports wagering support the Kentucky Permanent Pension Fund, which frees up money for our general fund, money that can be used to help build a better Kentucky, and that is a win-win for the whole state. Next up, we have some updates on Eastern Kentucky housing. On Tuesday, Governor Beshear visited Wayland and the site of a high-ground community that will soon be home to 11 families. It was just 6 months ago when he first visited the site formerly owned by the Wayland Volunteer Fire Department and announced a new community of homes that would be built there on 4 acres. Things have been moving quickly. Volunteer groups have been working 8 hours a day, nearly every day, putting in thousands of volunteer hours in support of their community. And you can see that the result of that work, as homes are being framed, exteriors nearly completed, and work has actually begun on the interior. In June, we expect that 11 families, each of them impacted and in some cases completely displaced by historic flooding, can start moving into their new safe home. This was a great day for Team Kentucky, and I'm glad that I'm able to share this update and congratulate these families on their new home. A special thanks to the local leaders in Wayland and Floyd County and Appalachia Service Project for their tireless work on these high ground homes. The project is also supported by the Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund that contributed $100,000 per home. Each of these homes are built with resiliency, allowing survivors to rebuild their lives in an area that's safe and secure from future flooding disasters. As a reminder, this project is one of 7 high ground communities being built as a part of a vision for a long-term recovery in the areas devastated by historic flooding. Once completed, these 7 high ground communities will be home to more than 500 families. We have a few more updates on these other sites as well. Homeowners will soon be moving into the cottages at Thompson Branch. Construction on 8 more homes will begin this summer through a partnership with Homes Incorporated. A bridge leading to the Skyview community has been upgraded, and work is underway to widen and improve the access road for home building contractors and residents at future sites. Bids will be going out for water and sewer installation in the coming days. At Chestnut Ridge, bids are in to build the access road, and a contractor will be announced soon to break ground. Underground utilities will follow right behind the road, allowing the foundation for Appalachian Kentucky to begin developing their neighborhood. At Olive Branch, infrastructure work is ongoing, including upgrading a water treatment facility that will improve service to additional parts of the county. Environmental and geotechnical reviews are being finalized at Grandview in Letcher County. Team Kentucky is going to keep our promise and keep working until every home and every life is rebuilt. Okay, so we have a few upcoming weather updates. Last week, the Commonwealth was hit by yet another severe weather event. Communities across Kentucky experienced storms that produced strong winds and multiple tornadoes. This storm knocked out power for thousands of Kentuckians, temporarily shutting down numerous roads and interstates, and caused massive damage to many homes and businesses. But like we always see after severe weather events, first responders and neighbors together came together to help clean and rebuild. The National Weather Service has confirmed 19 tornadoes in last week's storms. Counties were hit by tornadoes. The counties that were hit by tornadoes include Anderson, Bath, Bourbon, Boyd, Bracken, Clark, Henry, Jessamine, Jefferson, Mason, McCracken, Nelson, Oldham, Woodford, and Union counties. As a result of these storms, we had 17 counties and 12 cities declare a state of emergency. I visited Boyd County Emergency Management offices last Wednesday afternoon to tour storm-damaged areas with Judge Executive Eric Cheney and discuss ways to assist affected residents. We will continue to be with this community and every community impacted through this rebuilding process. Our ongoing priority remains the assessment of damage sustained across Kentucky following last week's storms. While we have yet to surpass the threshold for requesting public assistance, we will continue to document and report damage until every affected area has been covered. For those who were hardest hit, we are putting together the necessary information to push for individual assistance. Our focus, as always, is on ensuring that affected communities receive all the support needed as they begin the recovery process. We continue to support storm survivors through using the Commonwealth Sheltering Program. Currently, 4 households remain at General Butler State Park. 2 of those are from last week's storms, and 2 are from the March 15th storms. 7 households remain in commercial locations, and 1 household remains on private property as a result of the 2022 East Kentucky floods. So, moving on to today's weather. We have seen heavy rains the past few days, and severe weather is expected to occur into the evening hours tonight. The weather forecast for the Commonwealth includes scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms, and this storm could produce damaging winds and hail, and Kentuckians should be on alert. There is also an increased chance of flooding, and tornadoes cannot be ruled out. Agencies across Kentucky have been notified and are on call. Backwater from the rising Ohio River in western Kentucky has already covered some low-lying state highways along the river, including 2 roads in Henderson County and 4 roads in Union County as of Wednesday afternoon. State highway crews are placing high water signs and will continue to respond as needed for the next several days as more flooding is expected. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet will continue to send traffic advisories about road closures until high water recedes. Motorists are reminded to stay alert, to keep themselves safe, and to never drive through high water, and take the necessary precautions to keep you and your loved ones safe. And last up, we have the Team Kentucky All-Stars. Earlier, Governor Beshear shared some amazing news about the awards that our Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs team has won in their service to help our veterans. They have now won the Abraham Lincoln Pillar of Excellence Award for the 4th year in a row. So to everyone doing this fine work of supporting our veterans, we are naming you all this week's Team Kentucky All-Stars. And we thank our veterans and their family members. No matter the conflict, they have stood ready to sacrifice and protect our freedoms. We are forever grateful, and you all truly represent what it means to be part of Team Kentucky. And with that, I'm going to turn it right back over to Governor Beshear. Thank you.
All right, we're going to close out today by talking about a few of the actions that I took during this veto period. First, to date, I've signed 144 bills. And we're going to highlight just a few of them. So just a few moments ago, we talked about Senate Bill 111 that will now provide coverage for speech therapy for those that stutter. A good bill and pretty special to see someone directly impacted being out there and advocating for it. Next, I signed House Bill 377, which establishes a teacher recruitment student loan forgiveness pilot program. Student loan forgiveness for our educators is something I've been advocating for a while. It is a great way to recruit and retain more teachers. The bill also establishes a pilot student teacher stipend program, which will recruit more young folks to be student teachers and help us get more great educators in our public schools. I signed House Bill 453. This bill requires that when a child abuse or neglect is reported to the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, they determine the military status of the parent or guardian. That is because the military has a family advocacy program that has a lot of resources that can help. They can help stabilize families. They can help provide additional mental health resources. This is a big resource that the Department of Defense has been talking to all states with about how we can work better together. We worked with not only DOD, but also Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky to support this bill. We think it's going to be very helpful for a number of our families. I also signed House Bill 30. This bill establishes the Kentucky Service Members, Veterans, and their Families Suicide Prevention Program. According to reports, 17% of total deaths by suicide in Kentucky were Kentucky veterans. That's unacceptable. We appreciate our veterans and their sacrifices for us. We just had a Korean War veteran in here just a minute ago. And when they especially face combat, they come back with scars not just on the outside, but on the inside. And for far too long, we haven't told people that it's okay to not be okay, and have not done everything that we should be doing to help provide support, especially at a time of mental health crisis. This new program helps us do more. I also signed House Bill 752. That bill appropriates some funding from the Eastern Kentucky and Western Kentucky Safe Funds to help communities continue to recover. A whole lot of it's going to Mayfield, $48 million to ultimately help with a state-of-the-art fire station and police station. And listen, I know both those chiefs. They were all stars during the worst of the worst, and they continue to serve in special ways. The fire chief drove east in his ambulance bringing supplies when the floods hit because he wanted to be there for the rest of the Commonwealth, like the Commonwealth has been there for Mayfield. It'll also help with electric and water system facilities and City Hall. Remember, Mayfield had an iconic City Hall that the tornado hit head on. They deserve another iconic City Hall, and this is going to help. $6.1 million is going to Graves County for its administrative building, and $11 million is going to the Breathitt County School District to help their schools recover. Those are good parts of the budget. I will note that we did not get any replenishment in the Eastern Kentucky Safe Fund. That's going to be a real problem because each of the counties impacted are telling me that they don't have the funds in their fiscal court's budget to meet the FEMA matches that are coming. And so that is still a challenge. Hopefully we can get some of that in the final days, but otherwise we're going to have some counties that are going to have to get creative or potentially even turn down FEMA money because that amount for 4 cities and counties has fully run out. I also signed House Bill 15, which protects Kentuckians' rights relating to personal data, including letting Kentuckians know when their data is being used. I signed House Bill 52. This bill ensures all Kentuckians have insurance coverage for any cancer screenings, tests, or pre-diagnostic procedures. Listen, my dad's still alive today because he had a cancer screening and ultimately learned early enough of it to, and when you're a 17-year-old, and your dad tells you he has cancer, it's a hard moment. Helping more people out to not have to have that conversation or to have it so early that they can get the help they need is critically important. I also vetoed 27 bills during this legislative session. I'm going to go over just a few of them. First, I vetoed House Bill 5. This bill has a number of good sections, but I do believe it was cruel to put some of these sections that would have received unanimous approval with others that individuals knew would have been controversial. Yesterday, I was in Louisville for the 1-year anniversary of the murder of my friend and 4 other people at the Old National Bank shooting. And House Bill 5 would provide for the destruction of weapons used in those murders. I know how it feels, knowing that weapon could have been auctioned off to the highest bidder. And I know everybody else who's lost somebody like this hurts the way that I do. It also has some good pieces on having a separate carjacking statute, as well as some extra flexibility for the Kentucky Parole Board, which I support. So I did not take lightly what parts of this bill do. We just come out of the Easter season. And as I had minister after minister after minister approach me on this bill, they all said the same thing. They said, if your Savior came back, who do you think he'd be ministering to and helping first? And the answer is the lost, the lonely, the left behind. That definitely includes our homeless population. And I could not in good conscience, with my faith, sign a bill that would virtually criminalize homelessness and would treat an abandoned car better than a car that had a person in it who was suffering from homelessness. My hope is that the General Assembly will take a second look at this. We'll split it into other bills, which could easily pass in the last couple days, but make sure that we are not treating those that we're called to serve, even though I don't have the answers when it comes to that. I just know that we have to approach them with empathy, and that jail and prison when someone hasn't been violent is not the answer to homelessness. The second piece is we have a duty to create a balanced budget here in Kentucky. And there's no question that House Bill 5 is going to significantly increase jail and prison costs. And I say both of those because it will mean we're housing more people or we're housing people for longer. Both of those increase prison costs and jail costs. So we house people in our state prisons, which we need the dollars to be able to operate at that capacity. The more people you put in, the more corrections officers you need, the more resources that have to go in there to operate it safely. And then we also house state inmates in jails where we have to make direct payments and should to our county jails. Well, the problem here is while they passed a bill that we kept telling them and trying to provide estimates would definitely increase correction costs, they never published it at all for any of the legislators when they were taking a vote. And so what we have as the executive branch is the requirement that we house everybody in one of those 2 options that come to us, and we don't get to choose how many. That's ultimately determined by the court system, by a jury, but not by the executive branch. And so the amount for corrections that's currently in the budget was an estimate that we made without the House Bill 5 impact. And on top of that, the problem is magnified by, for the first time ever, a limitation in the budget on our ability to delve into necessary government expenses if our correction costs go over. So I think it is in 13 of the last 18 fiscal years, those costs have gone over. That's pre-House Bill 5, 13 of the last 18 years. The costs of incarcerating people in Kentucky have gone over the budgeted amount. This year, even with House Bill 5, we only have, I think, $5 million extra dollars we can use. Well, before House Bill 5, in 10 of those 13 years, it was over $5 million. And so under our current budget, there's absolutely no way that we can pay and that the dollars have been provided for those that are going to be in our state prison system and in our county jails. Now, that's bad enough in the state prison system, but it means we're going to reach a point where we can't pay the bills to our county fiscal courts who are housing them. And that's not right, because they're also in a position where they have to take these individuals if there's not space. Yet the legislature said you can't pay them once we reach this threshold. What it's going to mean is we're going to face a special session just on whether we're going to pay our bills if House Bill 5 is passed. And before I ever get to the ideological piece or of any bill, I ask one question: will it work? And the answer to will it work has to include, do we have the funding to make it work? And we do not. With the current budget as passed, if they overrule my line item veto of the necessary government expense limitation, which I have line item, but between that and House Bill 5, there's no question our costs are going to exceed and perhaps greatly exceed the budgeted amount for corrections. Second, I vetoed Senate Bill 349. Listen, I believe in an all-the-above energy policy, and that includes our coal-fired power plants. I believe that there is still an important role for every source of energy. I also agree with President Stivers that we should be really careful about taking any means of production offline right now when the demand is growing so greatly. You know, we're building a lot of enormous factories that are going to greatly help this world's climate based on how they're producing things and what they're producing. But remember, these are being built all over the country, though more here than most places. And the demand for energy is going up significantly. So I am concerned about trying to build all these amazing new factories and change all of our means of producing energy all at the same time. It's a math problem that is very difficult. But I believe this needs to be handled through the current PSC. Virtually every chamber of commerce from regional to the U.S. chamber opposes it. Every utility opposes it. And I think it can make it harder for us to get new means of energy online quickly. I also believe that the board it creates is not constitutional. This is a board that virtually appoints an individual from an association, from a part of a specific industry, just directly onto a board and gives them regulatory power. That's not how our boards are created. That's not how we can delegate executive authority. And I vetoed a number of those because of this. But this one in particular, I think even puts legislators on the board. And we are 100% successful in challenging that. That is black letter law. You can't put a legislator on an executive branch board. I also vetoed the bill that would significantly alter the racing commission as well as charitable gaming and sports betting. Listen, this was done on the 56th day of the session, and it's an enormous move. It creates an independent corporation that, by the way, would, even when charitable gaming comes in, have its own law enforcement unit, which we've never seen before. It would give regulatory authority to something that's supposed to be totally independent from the executive branch. I believe that the limitations on the directors are more significant and severe than they've looked at. We're supposed to get it done in 3 months, and right now the cabinet does all the IT, all the HR, significant parts of operations. There's no way it will succeed if done in 3 months. This is a conversation that I think we could have in the interim before the next session, but no company out there would create a new subsidiary or spin off a company in 48 hours without doing the diligence and without sitting down talking to those that would have to make it happen and say, can it work? So before I get to any of the other pieces, I always ask, will it work? And this will fail, not because we won't try, but you can't create a new lottery corporation in 3 months and it be successful. And the last note I'd make on that is I got to stand up for my people. The Public Protection Cabinet worked so hard to get sports betting launched. They brought all of their resources to bear, and look at how well it's gone. You know, there's that old axiom, if it ain't broke, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this is something that is operating better than anyone could have ever imagined. And why are we going to mess with it and mess with it, within a 48-hour period without doing all the due diligence? Finally, I vetoed House Bill 513. The legislature's tried to take a lot of functions out there. I think was the last session or the session before, they said we control all the parking spaces around the Capitol because that's somehow policy. And this time we're going to be curators of the Capitol. And whatever statues or artwork is permanently in the rotunda, we're going to decide through legislation. Listen, let's all do our job. Let's recognize that we're in different branches of government. And I'm proud that we took the Jefferson Davis statue out. And I'll never apologize for that, even if language like this comes in. I've watched so many kids walk into the rotunda when that statue was there and look at it, wondering why, and are they less? The answer is no. They are children of God that deserve a rotunda that they can come in and feel accepted and ultimately feel proud of, or certainly not feel less than anyone else. On line items, there are a number of them. Some of them are very technical. This happens in sessions as you get close to the end. You got to do a lot of work. There's one line item in House Bill 1 that said, X million dollars to this utility to support water loss. Well, obviously, we're not trying to support water loss. We're trying to prevent water loss or lessen it. But to actually give the money to the utility, we have to make sure that it's meeting the purpose that is written into the law. So I line item part of that in a way that will allow that utility to use it for their water system. I also line item the limitations on necessary government expenses to respond to a natural disaster. I've talked about it a lot. In the last 3 fiscal years, we would have exceeded the amount they had. We shouldn't have to have a special session just to say, can we please take care of our people? Of course, we should take care of our people. $25 million total. We go through that every year. So this, again, is setting us up to fail. And can you imagine if we're coming up to that limit or if we've hit it? I've got to call a special session at a time that everybody can get here. And they've got to spend the 3 days at least to pass that bill into law. And at that point, how many weeks are we after when people need help at their most? It just doesn't work. You can't legislate in a special session a response to a natural disaster. You just have to let emergency management and the National Guard and everybody else go to work. I think we've proven that we know how to respond and take care of our people. And finally, the other example on necessary government expenses I keep going back to is a limitation on money to fight forest fires. We stop fighting forest fires when the fire's out or it's contained, not when we hit some made up threshold. If we hit the $4 million that is the maximum extra that we can use, do they want us to walk away from the fire? Do they want us to tell people from other states that came in to go home? That's what we have. And think about how fast these fires break out. Again, we've got to call them into session. They've got to come into session, and we're literally going to pass a bill that says, keep fighting forest fires. I mean, we've got to be better and smarter than that. Okay, so that is a rundown. And while I talked about those line item vetoes, I will say that there's a lot of good funding in the budget for a lot of good projects that we are very supportive of. We're still working on different areas and think we might get a couple other things either put in or clarified in the last couple days. Certainly any positive changes, they don't need to be worried about a line item, especially in the budget. For me, if it helps our people, I'm for it. So with that, we have a packed house and we're going long. But I want to make sure we get to all of them. So first we have Sarah Michaels.
Good afternoon, Governor. I have two really good questions about the House Bill 6 line item vetoes. So first, what the part about the Attorney General interpretation of the budget, would you possibly take that to court if it's overruled? And second, for the executive order part, again, would there be any challenge to that?
Well, so first, the budget, the last two budgets for the first time ever have said that the Attorney General is the final word on what a part of a budget means. It used to say the Finance Secretary. In the end, the courts always decide what a law means. And the budget is a law. I don't think it'll end up being an issue because any challenge to any section ends up in court anyways. So I don't think that there would have to be a specific challenge to that. I guess if it ends up, if another section ends up in court and the attorney general says, I decide what the law means, I'm pretty sure a judge is going to say, no, that's our job. And then the second piece. Oh, the executive order part about a significant numbers of reports, and not reports to leadership, but reports to what the A&R chair about executive orders. We'll see. I will say they reduced it from what it was originally in, and I appreciate that reduction. We'll see. Of all my worries in this budget, that's not very high on my list. Not as concerned as some might think about that, and we're not going to run off to court just to make a point on something like that. So, Sylvia Goodman.
Hello, Governor. I have a question related to HB 509 and how you personally communicate within your office. Do you have a cell phone that you use to communicate with your staff, or if it's on state business? And if not, how do you communicate with your staff?
So I think it's fair to say I've been one of the most transparent governors, at least in recent memory. I've released my tax returns, every year since I was Attorney General, and no one other than Lieutenant Governor is doing that now, and no one has in years, and no one has pressed anybody else on it at all. I believe I'm more transparent in the use of the state plane, posting where it's going. I think I've answered more questions than every previous governor put together because of COVID and others, and the only one having a standing press conference each and every week. I was Attorney General for 4 years and approved every open records decision that came out. I've done as much, and I think I've had as much experience on open records as most people. Now, what I do have is a difference of opinion in how I think that this new law is going to impact open records than some in the press. And I will say I've been a little surprised by the summary dismissal of a different point of view, of name calling that's come from some. But I promised to do what I thought was best in this job. Let's point out a couple of facts. First, the part that is addressed by this bill, which is text messages on personal phones, has only been a part of the open records law if you look at when court decisions came out, for about 5 months. And so this idea that it would destroy the open records law when it's only been a part of the open records law for a brief period of time, when look at all the great journalism that's been done through the open records law as it existed before, I think is an overreaction. The second is it is specifically tailored for the court decision that came out. What the advocates, those being quoted, said in arguing that case was that Fish and Wildlife refused to provide state email addresses to the commissioners, and therefore they were forced to do public work on their private cell phone. Well, the current bill says you have to give them an email address and they have to use it. And if not, they violated the law. Now, I can say from enforcement, when we actually pull records, especially when there's bad actors, unless we get it on that public email, then a bad actor is ultimately not going to turn it over. Now, I get that there are members in the press that have a very different opinion of it, but I've been transparent in my reasoning and in talking about it. How do I communicate with my staff? I communicate with them face to face. I do it orally over the phone. That's how we do. I'm still the generation where we talk into a phone instead of just type. Tom understands what I'm talking about. And next, Tom.
Thank you, Governor. Oh, good one. Budget stuff again, strangely enough. Have you talked to legislative leaders at all? I got this a two-parter on the NGE limitations there for the disasters and the fires. And secondly, is this moving of the Racing Commission to the separate body, is that an unfunded mandate that you're somehow going to have to cover?
That's a really good question on the Racing Commission. When you look at the Racing Commission and what they're going to have to do, the services that they're going to have to set up, the IT systems that they're going to need, a lot of people that they're going to have to hire, they're definitely going to be costs. The question is, are they able to use restricted funds that they have in other accounts and that are available? And that would determine whether it's an unfunded mandate. But I will say that the costs and the work have been significantly underestimated in what it would do. And yes, we've had discussions till we're blue in the face on how we need to have the flexibility to respond to a natural disaster. And I really hope folks come around. Karen Czar.
Governor, last week you were talking about the importance of those who were hit by that storm to turn in any kind of damage report, even if it's
Yes.
minor, to help the group as a whole. Do you have an update on how that is going?
Let us get you an update on that. So with all these storms that came through, if we want to get FEMA help, we have to reach certain thresholds for public assistance. Think about public buildings, roads, water systems. And then if our people want individual assistance, then we've got to reach certain levels about that damage. And what that means is we need everybody to report their damage, whether they're insured or not. And even if it's just $10,000 or $15,000, we still need it documented and provided to emergency management, because we definitely have some uninsured people that got hit by this. I've talked to a number of them. I talked to a family that's really lucky to be alive. Their kids were ejected from their home but landed between two mattresses, which I think is both hands of God protecting those children. But we'll get you an update. You know, we have a new mapping tool where emergency management can even go home by home, and they've done this in Prospect, for instance, in Louisville, because I saw that and even rate the levels of damage to structures. Bodie Brooks.
Thank you, Governor. Senate Bill 2, the Guardians Bill.
Yeah.
You didn't sign it, you didn't veto it. Tell me a bit about the decision-making there to let it become law without your signature, and what kind of signal that sends.
Yeah, when you let a bill lapse into law, it's because you believe that there are certain good pieces on it, but you also have certain concerns. And listen, this one's going to become law. They're going to they would have overridden a veto. And I want to be in a position to make any program as safe as it can be, knowing that it's going to go into law. Do I have worries about who might be in our schools with this? Yes. Are there some real significant limitations within the bill on the training and the tests and everything else people have to pass? Yes. Is it entirely voluntary for school districts to do this or not? That answer is yes, too. And so as you look at the bill, no school district needs to use one of these individuals. They can choose not to. I'm also hearing from some sheriff's offices that if it's going to be done, they're going to try to bring that individual in-house in some sort of way. And listen, I got kids in a public school. And you say, do you want somebody there or nobody there if something happens? It's like most of the world. This isn't just a black or white issue. It's a much tougher one. But I want to be in a position to do the best I can with a program like this, and not issuing a veto, letting it lapse, I think puts me in that spot, while also letting people know that I have some concerns. Mark Vanderhoff.
I think you already sort of hinted at the answer to my question, but GOP lawmakers came to you and said, what are your top 3 things you want us to get done over the next 2 days? What would you say to them?
Well, I'll tell them teacher raises and universal pre-K, but at this point, don't think that's happening. I do think that there has been enough money provided for teachers to get small raises, but nothing like what we've asked for. But one benefit on the other side that we haven't talked to a lot is there's $1 billion in this budget to prevent healthcare costs from going up for our teachers and state employees too. So they'll see no premium increases when a lot of people around the country will see them. Certainly the non-governmental expenses is really important, letting that veto stand. Getting more money in and more flexibility on the Mountain Parkway and I-69, because they just opened this huge new grant program, billions of dollars from the federal government. And I think we need skin in the game like we had it in the previous budget for the Brent Spence Bridge. So those are a couple that I hope are still on the table. Carolina.
Governor, I've been trying to ask you the really hard questions today. What do you think about Coach Cal leaving Kentucky, and who do you think should replace him?
Wow. Coach Cal has been a great friend to me, a really great friend. He said yes immediately to helping out after tornadoes and floods. He brought the blue-white scrimmage to Pikeville to raise money for flood survivors. I've seen the man's kindness to the people of our Commonwealth, and I will personally miss him. He is a good man and a stick with my friends, and will continue to. I have not been consulted about the hiring process. If I was, I would want someone of high integrity that will be a good ambassador for our state, that will help the young men who come through the program and continue a tradition of excellence. But I will admit, I don't watch as much college basketball as I used to, though I watched the entire women's Final Four, which was worth every single minute, and hope that next year we won't just have teams go further, men's teams go further in the NCAA tournament. I hope we have our major programs and others in the women's tournament because it's an exciting time for women's basketball, and it was a joy to watch. McKenna. Didn't know I'd talk about that today.
Senator David Yates is planning to file a discharge petition for Senate Bill 99.
Yeah.
What do you think of that stance, and is it a mistake for the legislature to not take this legislation?
I am 100% in support of David Yates filing a discharge petition to bring Hadley's Law to the floor of the Senate. And let me say that if somebody votes for bringing it to the floor, it means they support exceptions for rape and incest in our state law. And if they vote against it, it means that it's not getting to the floor. That means they are against adding exceptions for rape and incest. Listen, we have one of the most restrictive laws in the country, and it's mean and it's cruel. And Hadley had the courage to talk about being a 13-year-old raped and impregnated by her stepfather, who, thank goodness, is in jail now and hopefully will never get out. She had the courage to do that. And the reason she did it, and these are her words, is there are other people in her position right now. If the legislature passes on that, that's another year that people who are violated and harmed don't have options. Now I believe that there should be more access than that, but this is the very least that people of empathy should be able to do. And I can tell you that the people of Kentucky strongly support those exceptions, whether they used to think of themselves as pro this or pro that. That world doesn't exist anymore with the Dobbs decision. But this is one that nobody should have to worry about their vote, that everybody's community would at least understand whether they agree or don't. All right, we have two on the telephone. First, we have Austin Horn. Okay, next we have Gil McClanahan.
Oh, hi, Governor. Long time no see from this week. I wanted to ask you, and you pretty much covered it earlier, about your veto of the Safer Kentucky Act. Obviously, opponents to this believe the state will not be better or safer under this law. You apparently share that. Why won't the state be safer under the Safer Kentucky Act?
Yeah, and I never said that. I believe that there are first some pieces of this legislation that people jump up and talk about. That when you talk about especially A and B felons, if they've committed 2 felonies, much less 3, they're in jail most of their remaining life or prison. But certainly higher level crimes, if you commit a third of them, we ought to be thinking about whether you will ever stop. I think we're safer if we destroy weapons used in murders. And I also think it's the right thing to do for a family. I think we'd be safer having a separate carjacking statute because of the data that we can pull from it, recognizing how big the problem is or isn't. But to criminalize homelessness in the way that it does, coming right out of Easter, I just think is wrong. And while I don't have the answer to homelessness, those that are experiencing it that aren't committing any type of violent crime, I just think we have to start treating as human beings and figuring out a better way. All right, this was a long one this week. I think we're back next week. So everybody, life's short. Be kind to each other and do good things. Thank you, Winnie.